The USS Meridian had been humanity's first deep space diplomatic vessel, a floating embassy designed to foster relationships with the 17 species of the Galactic Council. For 3 cycles, it had run like clockwork, efficient, peaceful, and utterly predictable. That was before Alira's coffee incident. Chief Engineer Alira Chen had exactly one sacred ritual in her daily routine. 0600 hours. Replicator Bay, 1 large black coffee with 2 shots of espresso. No sugar, no cream. Just pure, concentrated human determination in liquid form. It was the fuel that powered her through 14-hour shifts, keeping the Meridian's experimental quantum drives from tearing holes in reality. She had just taken her first sip, that glorious bitter first sip, when a blur of orange fur shot past her legs. Rin, the Vexari ambassador's cub, had been aboard for less than a week. The Vexari were apex predators from a high-gravity world, all muscle and fang and instinct, even in their youth. Rin stood barely 3 feet tall but moved like liquid lightning. The cub's clawed hand snatched the coffee mug mid-sip. Alira watched, frozen in disbelief, as Rin disappeared down the corridor with her coffee, the precious liquid sloshing over the rim. That ... Alira whispered, her eye twitching, was a mistake. 6 hours later, the Meridian's bridge crew was desperately trying to understand why their ship was performing feats of engineering that should have been theoretically impossible. Captain, the quantum drives are operating at 212% efficiency, Lieutenant Cora. A nervous Thaxian with chromatophore skin currently displaying patterns of deep confusion, reported. The power output is... It shouldn't be sustainable. The cooling systems should have failed an hour ago. Captain Varix, a seasoned Quailian with 4 eyes and centuries of experience, studied his readouts with growing concern. Engineering report? What is Chief Chun doing down there? The response came through crackling with an intensity that made the universal translator struggle. She's optimizing. Sir, in engineering, Alira had entered what her human colleagues called the zone, and what alien crew members had started calling the vengeful trance of the caffeine-deprived human. She had rerouted 17 non-essential systems. She had recalibrated the plasma injectors using a method that technically violated 3 laws of thermodynamics. She had jury-rigged the cooling system with parts from the replicator she'd cannibalized, because she certainly wouldn't be using it for coffee anymore, now would she? Her hands moved across holographic interfaces with mechanical precision. Her jaw was set. Her eyes held the cold focus of someone who had been personally wronged by the universe itself. Chief, perhaps you should take a break, ventured Ensign Marcus, her human assistant, who had wisely been keeping his distance. You've been at this for 6 hours. A break, Alira repeated flatly, not looking up from her work. A break? You mean like the break I was taking at 0600 hours? When I had my coffee? Marcus took a step back. Right. No breaks. Understood. The quantum drives hummed with power they were never designed to channel. The Meridian was now traveling at speeds that had previously existed only in theoretical papers. They had cut their journey to the Calthora system by 3 days. In her mind, Alira ran the calculations. 3 days early. 3 days she could spend reconfiguring the ship's systems to peak performance. 3 days to prove that you didn't mess with a human engineer's coffee and walk away unscathed. Ambassador Threxus, Rin's parent, finally located their cub in one of the observation lounges. The young Vexari was trembling, their predatory instincts warning them of danger despite the lack of any visible threat. Parent, Rin chirped nervously. Why do the walls feel angry? Threxus's ear fins flattened. They had been feeling it too. The entire ship seemed to be running hot, like a beast pushed beyond its limits, and there was an underlying current of something in the air. Something that made their ancient predator brain whisper warnings. What did you do, cub? I took the human's dark liquid, the one called Illyra. I thought it was a challenge. She was holding it so carefully I thought Threxus's blood ran cold. They had been warned about human beverages, specifically coffee. The Galactic Council had an entire briefing document on human caffeine dependence. You took a human's morning coffee, Threxus said slowly, and that human is the one who controls the ship's power? Rin nodded miserably. Threxus activated their communicator with shaking claws. Captain Varix, I believe I found the source of our ... situation. In the end, it took a formal diplomatic apology, 3 replacement coffee mugs made from Vexari ceremonial metals, and a solemn promise from Rin to never touch a human's coffee again. Alira accepted the gifts with the grace of someone who had just worked out 3 months of frustration in 6 hours of manic engineering brilliance. The Meridian continued running at unprecedented efficiency for the rest of the voyage, because once Alira had optimized something, it stayed optimized. The incident became legend throughout the Galactic Council. A new entry appeared in the Human Cultural Sensitivity Guide, Article 847C, on human caffeine dependence. Under no circumstances should a human's coffee be disturbed, removed, or interfered with, particularly in the morning hours. Humans experiencing caffeine withdrawal exhibit heightened problem-solving abilities, increased efficiency, and a single-minded focus that borders on the supernatural. While not physically dangerous, they will redirect this energy toward their work with potentially reality-defying results. The human concept of running on spite has been documented as a genuine energy source. Years later, Rin would become one of the most respected xenanthropologists in the Council, specializing in human behavior. When asked about their expertise, they would always give the same answer. I learned early. Never underestimate what a human can accomplish when properly motivated. And nothing motivates a human quite like someone taking their coffee. The coffee mug from that incident still sat on Alira's desk, a gleaming reminder. Engraved on its side in both human and Vixari's script were simple words. Touch at your own risk.